Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. So this is a language channel that me, from my understanding of like my binocular look at both English and Chinese to kind of, doing this comparison between English and the Chinese concepts. And a recent event, a viral event that happened in Britain of this brick lane uh, graffiti of a bunch of Chinese students over there, whitewashed the whole wall and covering other graffitis, put 12 Chinese phrases that quote unquote the core socialist values over there. And I'm thinking, wow, this is, and then it started a conversation, right? And just like how graffiti evolve. Of course, people write on top of it. You say your thing, and I'm going to cover it up or express further. So it becomes like a social event. It's like the center of attention between cultures exhibiting right there. And of course, there are a lot of political forces, political opinions, disharmony, disagreement, over there. And because I'm not a political commentator, I have no interest. I'm just going to look at the 12 characters, and I think it's worth looking. Using this opportunity of somebody expressing the core values in this 12 phrases, each one combined by 2 Chinese characters. And I'm kind of unpacking of these concepts to see how English and Chinese corresponding. And these are all big, values. So big concepts. I hope I can do justice to it. Okay, so that's the background. The first character from that Chinese 12 core socialist values is a Fu Qiang. Fu Qiang, and it actually came from 2 part of meanings. Fu represent financial strength, right? And Qiang represent military strength. Okay, so I remember clearly in the history book describing how colonizers go to new continents, bringing 3 M's up there. So when talking about a Fu, it's merchants, and when talking about a Qiang, it's military. And there's the 3rd M, which is missionary. And it just clicked with me and stayed with me till today. And I guess Fu and Qiang represent already merchants, military, like 2 arms of a nation. One is your wealth, right? Your financial backing, and the other one is military backing. So this would consider as the foundation of how a nation can exist. So that becomes the number 1 value among the 12, the foundational thing. Okay, so Fu made of this arch with a chimney means human build space or architecture, or as simple as a shelter, right? So with a chimney on top, that's a human touch. Without the top chimney thing, this tiny little dot, that may not mean a human space. With that, that's human touch. Okay, so that's all we need to know. Okay, this is human touch. And a lot of times in later use, it becomes like a domestic. It means household. It means within your personal human touch space. Okay, personalize the space. Okay, then the bottom, according to scholars, this is a type of bronze cast bronze utensil. So 3,000 years ago in Shang Dynasty, that dynasty got the special technology of cast iron or cast bronze that made into this metal form with a highly decorative arts display, and also characters in carved, not exactly by carved, it's actually molded into that. It's one piece. And of course, a lot of Chinese characters survived through time because it's molded into this metal piece. But it actually also its utilitarian use. It's utensils used either to cook or to hold or food container, right? So in this case, it's a type of food container without the stand. The most typical image of such cast iron bronze would be like a three-legged utensil with the majority of the container on the top, right? But this one is without any of the legs. And well, we can see this as the lid to the container, and the oval shape could be the opening, the entry of the container. And then the bottom here, the cross could be like a decorative surface of the container. This is the main body of the container. So this together, the three parts, even if it's separated, they combine, they stack it up, make the one meaning that means fulfilled, or okay, container filled to the full. So it's a filled. It's not empty. It's eventually from this I'm sure it's an heirloom thing, because it's not an easy task to cast such a utensil. It's not like you're mass produced. Probably it was mass production back then. Now thinking about it, there must be a strong interest. Industry making such cast iron utensils. It's cookware back then, or food container back then elaborately, and it's an heirloom piece. It must be, because they made it such endurance. It's heavy and it's decorated. So this elaborate food container eventually means it's well-to-do. It's you have food in there, and according to some scholars, of course, this is reverse engineering, because now we understand this whole concept means wealth. And then some scholar will explain in the middle, that means it looks like somebody who's tummy full, who has a big belly, they have enough food. It could be, but it's a little bit of a stretch. So I would rather go with the cast bronze container thing, because it's a food container, so it symbolizes food. You have a food security, and I guess in the past, food security is not an easy accomplishment. Only well-to-do families back then can, have the container full. So that eventually symbolized wealth, and food security is the starting symbol of wealth. Now think about it. It's like we're way beyond that benchmark of food security. Okay, anyways, this container within this domestic space, together, that means within your individual household, you have that food container. You have food security. That means you're well-to-do. Just have enough, food on the table. That's it. That's the definition of wealth. Humble beginning. Okay, 墙. 墙 made up of left and right structure, and it looks a little bit scattered, right? It's not as rectangular as fu. It's well structured, but this one is kind of free form. But from this free form, we can still look at the left is actually a zoom in view of the bow. So bow and arrow were major ancient weaponry. That's kind of long range weapon, right? You don't have to fight your enemy next to each other. You can shoot an arrow from afar and weaken the enemy. So that's long range weaponry back then. So that represents military power. And the right side actually is, I look at it as a worm on the hook. Originally, this thing means the worm, the rice worm. I don't know how that makes sense. And then the rice worm paired with the military power symbol, at some point in history was borrowed to mean the borders of a nation. So basically your map, the map of your governed land. In American case, it would be from sea to sea. right? And that's the sense of the scale. And this scale, this map, I mean, I guess the ruler of the country, when they look at the map, expanding, have a big range of range of land and people living on the land under your rule, that must feel very good, right? I'm not a conqueror, I'm not the ruler I'm trying to imagine, but then the symbol was used from that, not rice worm, okay, but from that borrowed meaning to mean the country's map, the land mass of under your rule, then it symbolized, okay, paired with that military symbol, 弓, right? The bow and the land mass, it means strength. Okay, so 富强 in English corresponding to prosperity. This is the Google Translate definition, prosperity. But I think prosperity kind of implied, if you are economically well-to-do country, by the way, this is Shanghai. I mean, if you want to show one frame of picture of the accomplishment of China's economic boom in the past 4 decades, basically, this is the picture. So if you want to show a country, I mean, prosperity, it already implied economic and military must go with it, right? Otherwise, it's kind of imbalance. When you have the wealth, you have to protect that wealth somehow, right? As a nation. So this 富强 in Chinese character actually combined of these 2 parts already. We made it explicit. So with their financial or economic power comes with your military power, and combined together, that's prosperity. And this is the goal, the pursuit of prosperity of the core socialist value, that beginner of this value series. All right, so that's it. 富强, cash into the currency of thinking about one more day with Sophie. See you another day.